Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am. But right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there are just 88 days until Christmas 2024. We're already under 90 days until Christmas Eve, that is. Can you believe it? Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's so good to see you here. And there's Matt Risman again. Right there, poking the bear. We do have a Daisy Ridley interview where she gives us a little bit of an update on the Rey movie. And there's some speculation going around the interwebs today. We'll maybe get into that kind of space. We will be talking about the Rey movie to some degree. Look, Mike Porter made it. Hello, Mike Porter. So good to see you. And we've got Jedi Mike in the audience. Good to see you too, Mike. Thank you so much for dropping in. Oh, Chillmonger. Love this guy. You guys, if you're not subscribed to Chillmonger, go find him on YouTube. He has a great channel. I love his content. Don't agree with him often, but he's a great guy. Great channel. Dale, Skywalker's Academy. We're going to open the show with a comment from Dale in just a moment. And then we've got KG. Hello, KG. Good to see you. It jumped just as I clicked on KG. Hello. Oh, yes, we have the head elf right here. Peanut is in the audience. She's hanging out with us right there. We got a new stand for her, so she can sit here real close and we can visit. So yes, Peanut. You hear that, Risman? Matt? It's Peanut. That's her name. Mike says he's traveling, but still, he says, I'm still at my hotel, but wanted to say hi. Thank you so much. Very, very good. We have several things to talk about. And no, Chillmonger, no, I don't think you will. I don't think that's happening. So, you guys, we do have a Patreon page, and for our patrons, for as little as just $1 a month, you can help support the channel in a tremendous way. Seth Nico, hello. Good to see you, Seth. You can support the channel tremendously, and I try to give you back more value for your dollar than it cost. And one way you could do that is you can submit a topic to be discussed, and that topic, if it's appropriate for the show, something that we can talk about here on the stream, we will bring it up, and that's just $1. You don't have to pay, super chat money to get my attention. You can just put a topic in there, and Dale Erdman did just the thing today. Dale submitted a topic here on Patreon, and this is what it looks like. We've got Patreon. It says Patreon only live stream questions. use this as an unlimited super chat for our next live stream. You can put as many topics in here a day, a week, a month as you want for just $1, right? Not $1 each, $1. That's it. It says, ask a question you'd like me to answer, or pose a topic you'd like me to discuss. So Dale said, I heard whispers of some tea. We could use a little spill and call for civility in the Star Wars fandom. Also, reading that thing I wrote about Padme. Read that thing I wrote about Padme while we're on the topic. So I wanted to find that and bring that up first. And I knew Peanut was going to have some things to say. Anytime I'm on a call, yeah, you want an apple? You want a treat? So anytime I'm on a call, she starts talking up a storm. And so we've got her here providing some background noise, some entertainment for you all. So Dale, a couple of weeks ago on one of our live streams, posted this response. He said, Padme dying in childbirth isn't just losing the will to live. She feels Anakin is dying. She knew there was still light in him. She gave her life force to save him. She sensed that he would eventually be redeemed, and she wanted that for him more than she would have to go through to heal her broken heart and hide the children herself. She knew the kids would be protected by Obi-Wan. How does that work? I'm not sure, but it can't help accept it. So, Dale, I appreciate the chat. Hey, Nick, good to see you. Good to see you as well. There's a lot of ways to work this out with Padme dying at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I still say that it would have been more powerful if in Attack of the Clones, Padme was already pregnant. And when Anakin goes and slaughters all of the Sand People, and he comes back and he goes, I killed them all. Not just the men, but the women and the children too. That she finds that so devastating, so repulsive, that she leaves pregnant without Anakin knowing she was pregnant with his child, with his children. And in that case, she would already have a broken heart. She would just be crushed. She'd be sobbing, like completely devastated by it. Then when we pick up in Revenge of the Sith, they're already separated. Anakin's angry because Padme has left him. He doesn't know he has, that she's pregnant, but he's angry because she left him, and then things are not going his way. One thing compiles upon another, and when you get to the end of Revenge of the Sith, when he's been knighted, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, after childbirth, she's already had the twins, and the twins have been living with her for a little while. Maybe I'd have to do the math, and I'd have to go back and look. Like, well, how much time passed between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith? You guys could probably tell me. What's the time between there, right? The children are living with Padme in hiding from Anakin. Anakin, 3 years, Real Ben says. 3 years, perfect. So like 2 years old. How about that? They're like 2.5 years old, something like that. Nearly 3, or just over 2. So she's got the children. They're toddlers, right? They're living with her. And then he's knighted Darth Vader, right? He's knighted Darth Vader. Obi-Wan, in desperation, goes to Padme and says, Padme, we've lost him, all right? Anakin, he's turned to the dark side. He's become the thing that we were fighting against. He has joined with the Emperor and Darth Sidious, and we need you to appeal to his his heart to his uh, love and see if we can reclaim him. Then they show up on Mustafar. She's there. He's like, why are you here? She's like, I've heard this stuff. And then on we go. She dies. She was heartbroken because she lost him. She had her children. The children are growing. And then she is injured so devastatingly that they can't revive her. She doesn't die of a broken heart. Rather, she dies from the wounds inflicted by Darth Vader. And then you make it all fit. So much better. So much better. Right? So that would work better for me. It's more consistent with Padme's character from Phantom Menace, and allows her to suffer heartbreak after heartbreak that leads her to that point. Hello, Sabersmith. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining the chat. Brandon, good to see you here as well. I saw Real Ben in the chat. He says, just because of the way things are online with Star Wars fans right now, I pretty much only consume stuff from my friends. Other than that, I pretty much ignore the chatter. You know, I try to as well, Real Ben, and we're going to give some, I try to model behaviors here, you know. I try to model the kind of things that we would like to see as human beings interacting with one another, right? And you got something to say? Huh? I hear you. You're back there hollering. Yeah. She's back there making all kinds of noise. Yeah. But I want to pick back up on Dale's Patreon super chat here. He says, I heard whispers of some tea. We could use a little spill. Well, you'll have to be more specific with me, Dale. There's tea that I know that I can maybe a tap dance around. And there's tea that I can't say anything about. And there's some other tea that maybe I am just completely unaware of. But if you give me a clue which cup of tea we're talking about, maybe we'll get in there. There you go. Sabersmith, I found an awesome gift for you. It's Lego Santa's post office. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'll have to look for that, Sabersmith, or post it in our Discord. I've seen you in there as well. Give me a clue, Dale, Skywalker's Academy. Let me know which cup of tea are you talking about, and we will get right into that. Yes, Peanut is musical therapy. Yeah, she's back there singing and whistling, and she's chuckling. She's going on. Oh, okay. He says, well, anything you could share would be the tea. I see. Skywalker's Academy is saying, let's change the topic a little bit, right? Let's spill a little tea and get the conversation around a little bit of tea, speculation, leaks, rumors, those kind of things. There are some things I wish that oh, she's singing and dancing now. Yeah, hello back there. So what tea could I share? Let me think on it because I've got to be careful. I have to be careful. I am not a scooper. Hello, Cubello. Quentin. Hello, my good friend. I am not a scooper. I try to stay out of the scooping business. I'm friends with Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. I'm friends with Bespin Bulletin. Both of those guys are preeminent scoopers in the business, and people that I got one, and people that we can rely on for trustworthy, reliable scoops, to spill some tea. So, being in this social media kind of space, from time to time, you hear things. And Jason has been too quiet lately. Well, Jason and Bespin are both just taking a little bit of a sabbatical. Right? They're taking a little sabbatical. It's a little bit of a good time to do that right now, as we're in between different projects that are going out there. But we have one. We have one that I would like to get into just a little bit. And let me do that by going to this story right here. All right. This is from Daniel RPK. All right. He's another scooper in the business, sometimes right, sometimes wrong. He's kind of more in the movie space side of things, not really in the animated. Is more live action. And as I understand it, he primarily follows the sources who are in the UK. So his information comes from things over there. And in this story that has been reported, says the Mandalorian and Grogu will reportedly be the last chapter of the series / show, with no future movies or seasons planned. Now, that's a little bit misleading if we just stop right there. And we'll get into this just a little bit, because there's a matter of semantics going on here that's tremendous. And to report this story this way is misleading, I think. And we'll get into it. Yeah, KG says, Din Djarin, however, Din Djarin is said to appear in future Star Wars projects after the conclusion of his own show. All right, let's get into this. And we'll share a little bit of tea, I reckon. If you've been hanging out here for some time, Jason Ward and I have talked about these kind of things in the past. And Bespin Bulletin. Bespin, if you're out there, my friend, hit me up. Because it would be very helpful to get your input on this topic, because you guys have talked about this. This is something that we talked about months and months ago, back when we were speculating, will there be a Mandalorian season 4? When it was at first announced that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie was coming about, there was a ton of speculation. Wait a minute. Does that mean that season 4 of The Mandalorian has been made into a movie? Or does that mean that we have Mandalorian Grogu movie and season 4? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Does the movie come before the season before the movie? Which sets up the other? And the biggest part of the speculation at the point, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of discussion, was Mandalorian season 4 canceled. There was a lot of unclear information out there. But we had this information. We had this from Jason, who said once, and it was his belief. It wasn't like a leak or anything, but it was his information. He was just giving us some industry insight, saying that once the live action series went to movies, he did not personally believe that it would ever go back to a series. Once it made the jump to movies, it would continue on in movies. What this seems to confirm is just that. Excuse me. This seems to confirm that season 4 of The Mandalorian is not a thing. There is no season 4. And if you were to talk about the story of, Santa needs some tea. I just finished all of my Mio energy right there. So I have nothing to drink. Um, but season 4 of The Mandalorian will not be happening. And I was going to say there's a little bit of of debate, if you will, a little bit of discussion. Was Mandalorian season 3 really a continuation of The Mandalorian? Right? Oh, look here. Rob, you've made it. Hello.
You asked for Jason and Bespin, but you got two Jason and Bespin, right?
Well,
Yeah.
you probably remember us having these discussions, though, right?
Right, and I'm only jumping on because my intuition has proven more right sometimes than Jason's well-educated guesses. His guesses, his education, not guesses, his hypotheses are based on past tried and true results, but they never factor into the Lucasfilm is crazy, right? And always has been. Like there's nothing new. So I wanted to bring up this, but I was talking to Bespin about this recently, so I am vaguely caught up on some of the what you were just talking about, the season 4, going to film bit. So whatever you want to, what do you want to go there with that? Like I can.
Well, I was just going to say there's some debate over if season 3 of The Mandalorian was really about Din and Grogu, right? It was more about the Mandalorians, and it had a lot more to do with Bo-Katan stepping back in to be the leader of the Mandalorians and establishing the new covert, if you will, of that side of things.
The way Jason described it before the season had come out, so if you go back and watch the episodes, was that he was told that season 3 would be about the restoration of Mandalore.
Right.
Because we got in a huge argument about this, because I said, that's a series idea. That's not a season. Yeah. Right? Like that's like Battlestar Galactica, the reboot. We want to get the humans to Earth, right? You don't do that in a season. That's the point. If a restoration of Mandalore would be the point of a season, when you're compressing that kind of stuff into one season, then I'm like, it's always going to be like things are going to happen because they have to happen, not because things are happening because characters made bad decisions. And so we got this whole argument. They're like, no, Rob, you're crazy. It's going to be great. I'm like, no, it's not, man. It's impossible to do that in 8 episodes and for it to be meaningful. It's a restoring an entire planet that we have no familiarity with. And he goes, no, the cartoon. The people watching the show aren't going back to watch the cartoon. Like you got to make it matter here. Right. So the way this would work is if they had Grogu, imagine if Grogu and Jin had set up camp on Mandalore, right? And no one wanted to go with them. And then so he's there for like 2 seasons or 3 seasons. You know what I mean? Like restore, like building up these factions, and it's like a Mad Max scenario. That would be a series. But what they tried to do in 6 episodes was compress that into like an extended movie.
Yeah. So let's peel that back just one more, because and Chillmonger asked this question: did Favreau know there was a movie to set up? I'll back all the way up. And look, I'm a broken record on this. If you guys have been here since the beginning, there was an interview done before season 1 of The Mandalorian. And there was an interview with Kathleen Kennedy. And some of the quotes that she said in that interview got blown up into huge viral videos on all the Star Wars accounts. However, there was another quote in that same interview where she said she was just talking to Jon Favreau, and that the story really kind of spun on a take of Paper Moon. And if you look,
hold on, I'm legally required to drink a boba every time you say Paper Moon, huh?
That's true.
All right, Santa.
At least it's a boba, because I mean it can be dangerous this early in the morning out west.
Santa, I'm milk toast here. All right, like I'm as white as it gets. From California. I'm not a. I got Star Wars video games in my background. All right, no time for drinking.
That's good. I'm very happy. So, look, if you go and watch the movie and you see how it ends, right? This father and cub, right? It's a little girl in the movie, but by the end, she is taken to her family, her aunt who lives in like Kansas, I think it was, or like St. Louis, I think it is, St. Louis, Missouri. I think she lives in St. Louis. They get her all the way to St. Louis, and her aunt has provided this beautiful home, white picket fence out front. She's got her own bedroom. Everything is beautiful. Everything's perfect. Her aunt's making her a wonderful dinner. And that was the whole point of the entire movie, is getting her there. She gets there. She settles down in her room. And then instantly, before dinner is even ready, runs down the road, finds the guy, and jumps in the truck with him, and off she goes. She turns away from her family to go with this drifter guy. So when I heard that Favreau,
I love how stressful that is for you, Santa.
I know.
Birds are great. They know. They're really smart. He knows. He's like, yeah, keep talking.
Yeah, he has things to say. Yeah, we hear you.
I know.
But so when I saw that in the interview, I said, I've never seen this movie before, so I pulled it up on a streaming service and I watched it.
You didn't watch it back in the 70s?
I did not. It
was a big movie. I mean, I knew it growing up, because my uncle I had the nerd uncles, and one of them was more of a 70s film fan. So Peter Bogdanovich, was in that. The Brian De Palma, Peter Bogdanovich, and Easy Rider guy. What's his face? The Easy Rider guy. I'm brain farting. Yeah, I know. I'm asking you. You're 20 years older than me. This is the getting old show. Yeah, yeah, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I do know who you mean.
All right, good enough.
Yeah. No, it's just, so I went back and watched it, and then as I'm watching The Mandalorian, I'm expecting that they're going. What was the point of The Mandalorian? He says, "Take this child to his people." He said, "Well, what does that mean?" Well, the best he could find is a Jedi, right? So he's on this quest to find a Jedi. Takes Grogu back to his people. Just like the grifter took the girl to her aunt, her family. And what happened? The girl left before dinner was ready. Grogu stays with Luke for a hot minute. And I knew, because Jon Favreau told us, Kathleen Kennedy actually told us, she spilled the beans before the show ever came out. He's not going to stay with his family. He's going to return to the grifter. So when Grogu arrived with Luke, I expected it to happen faster even. I thought that maybe we would see a post-credit scene at the end of season 2 and Grogu returning back to Din, just like the movie.
Yeah, that would have been even worse. Santa, look, this is and I've been saying this about Filoni and Favreau for 3 years now, and this has been just based on what they do and my own personal dealings with LA mindset and artists. And Filoni is an artist. He was an animator, storyboard artist at Nickelodeon. So I understand his type. Okay. Yeah. And they tend to borrow things surfacely. They go, oh, it's like this and it's like that. It's like Miyazaki meets Hayao Miyazaki meets Kill Bill. They do this all the time, but they don't ever get to the thing underneath the surface, the thing that made the Miyazaki or the Kill Bill. The underneath, there's an underneath part, this creative experience, the real authorship. They don't understand that. They just pull surfacely from things. So Peter Bogdanovich was an actual auteur 70s style filmmaker, the kind that Lucas was, and Coppola and Spielberg were that kind of mindset that they were coming out of the young director new wave. So if you're going to say, I'm going to borrow from Paper Moon with these characters, you got to take a few things into consideration. One, your lead character isn't a 14-year-old Jodie Foster looking girl. It's a little baby Yoda.
Right.
People want to see Baby Yoda be with Luke Skywalker because it means more to them having 40 years of Star Wars. Oh, Luke would finally get to teach a Yoda. Luke never had a father. You know, if he had an apprentice at being a baby Yoda, it'd be like coming full circle. So for a Baby Yoda to reject that and go with his other character is already, that's 30% of your audience right there. You're losing in that, in that move. Like, you're missing the point. And the other thing is, I would say is, but Favs, if I'm sitting down right at Favs with dinner for five with Favs, that scene in Paper Moon was the end of the movie. Right. It didn't continue on for 4 more seasons.
Perfect, Rob. That's exactly what I was going to say.
That was the resolution.
I expected it to be a post-credit scene of season 2, and that to be the end of The Mandalorian. To your point, season 3, the restoration of Mandalore, is a different series.
Correct. Called Mandalore or Mandalorians or whatever. You bat an S or something, but it's a new thing. Yes,
exactly. Which is what they did. So I think the plan was they
got clever, Santa. They tried to have their cake and eat it too. They tried to rewrite the rules and go, no, anyone can be a Mandalorian. I'm like, now you're just angering people. Now you're messing with them, right? Like you're gaslighting the not the guys Santa, I love you, but you got questionable friends on the Star Wars community, right? You watch questionable shows, right? For a guy with a naughty and nice list, half the Star Wars guys you watch are on the naughty list and have been for the last 20 years. So I'm going to say the good Star Wars fans, the well-meaning, the ones that don't start race wars over Kenobi series and stuff, you are telling us, you're asking us to bite a bigger leap than Luke and, I mean, it's the same kind of leap you have to take. You were there when people were like, "Oh, Luke and Leia are brother and sister." When did that happen? Like, because you remember, you Santa, that wasn't flying with 30 to 50% of the audience. I'd say 50%, right? It was way bigger a problem in 1983.
100%. Yeah. That was not cool. Yeah, it was like incest. What? No, not good.
Yeah, right. Now, and it makes you feel weird when you watch the other two, right? Right. You feel really weird. Like, how's Luke wants to go save the princess. He's not trying to save his sister. He's trying to save the hot chick in the video.
It makes it worse at the end when like somehow I always knew. That line.
I know. Well, see, but Santa, I know we're going to get into complaint about Star Wars. We got to stay on focus. I just want to end it with this because since you brought that up, then she brings up her mother. And so we have this little mother thing to hang on with, and we're thinking about it for the next 17 years and, 16 years. And, that didn't matter either. No. Turns out she never met her mother. Mother was dead on birth, didn't know mom. Like that never happened.
Yeah. She knew her less than Luke knew her.
Yeah. If you clock it, it's true.
Right. So why are you asking me? You knew her longer than I did.
Who would have thought watching those movies, Yoda knew their mom better than they did? Who would have thought? But no, that's what I'm saying. They rewrote this stuff, and not only did Fav pull that move around that time with that interview, they also pulled the move that because we were watching that Boba Fett's episode 6 where Mando's taking the bus everywhere, right? Yeah, I'm like, and he has to get a car, because you can't take the bus everywhere. And I'm like, how long is he doing that for? Because that makes for a fun episode. I like the episode. Yeah. But it was like, was it a couple weeks? No, he's like, it's like a year or two.
Right.
Like a year or two? Like, there's no way this bounty hunter. I mean, I got the Razor Crest right here, right? Yeah. This is the first Star Wars toy I bought, Santa, right?
Yeah.
Since Dooku's I'm calling it Dooku because I'm not calling it Dooku. It sounds like duty. I refuse to do it. Right? Like Dooku's lightsaber. I bought that at the premiere of Attack of the Clones and then promptly threw it away after the damn movie. This is the first toy I bought. And the reason I bought it is like, finally, they've created a ship that is lived in. It has a toilet. We've never seen it, right? It's lived in. It's his home. He's got a little OP. It's got a carbonite system. Okay, I'll let it go because it's fun. Right? I accept it. Makes sense for a bounty hunter. But now he's taking the bus everywhere for 2 years. That he should, if anything, that would be the time, if they had this planned out, to send him back to Mandalore to go into hiding or to hide out while he's being hunted by the Imperial Gideon guys or something. You know, like
so. Let me get back to Chillmonger's thing. How did this become a prequel for us? Because that's it's in my DNA. I can't help it. No, to go back to where we were. Favreau,
I do that. My bad.
It's okay. It's all good. Favreau's initial thing, I think, was only a 2-season thing. Right? We've got Luke, Mandalorian. Right? Din gets Grogu to Luke. Grogu picks Din, and the end. I think that was the plan when they sat down before season 1 ever went to filming. Well, guess what?
Or what I told Jason. Or what I told Jason is it's that too, or it's that, and then a move. They get together at the end of the movie. Like if you start a movie where they're separated and then all hope is lost and it looks like Din's gonna get murdered and then Grogu comes in, right, like Yoda, and saves his dad. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So I think after season 1, like Mandalorian was the biggest thing anywhere, and they're like, we need more. Okay, so we'll put the post-credit scene into the Book of Boba Fett. That'll tie the Book of Boba Fett into this, and then we'll make another season of The Mandalorian after that, where they restore Mandalore, and then we'll move on from that to right. And they just kind of start spitballing.
Well, sort of, Santa. You got to remember too, fans deserve some of this blame, because when the show came out and they're like, "Oh, he's just doing a bounty hunter thing for these episodes. It's not going anywhere. Where's the story going?" I'm like, you're forgetting the hook of a TV show. It's like seeing Samuel Beckett solved one thing. Now he's done, right? Why does he keep solving things Buffy has a big bad this season. Where's the story going? Fans have been trying to turn TV shows into movies and movies into TV shows, and they won't let each one be what it is for the longest time. And now we live in this upside down world where they're neither is satisfied with the length of a movie or the length of a TV series because of it.
Oh yeah.
And it should just be, he's a bounty hunter. He's going on these different bounties, and we're going to hang with him, for say 10, 13 episodes a season. And we're going to do this for 4 seasons. And you play the long card so you can grow and have the time to grow with these characters.
So the original question, did Favreau know that he was setting up for a movie? No, he didn't.
No.
When did he become aware of this strategy to transfer it into a movie? Somewhere along the line between season 2 and season 3, or somewhere along the line during season 3. Like, hey, let's.
I think Bespin, who may or may not be watching, but Bespin might say it didn't happen until after season 3 because he had apparently this season 4 pre-written. If you're going to take the word for it, that they'd already written the season out. And my guess, and then they decided at some point, season 4 is the movie, because the budget, as Bespin has been saying for a long time, the budget for the movies come from the entire budget of season 4. So $120 million,
Yeah. So Ben says, so did the Rangers basically get folded in the 3rd season of Mandalorian? No, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. It says because some of the stuff with the X-Wing pilot just feels disjointed in the 3rd season. I think the disjointed bit you feel in the 3rd season is that we switched from the Mandalorian show, which I think I'm going to go back to the original article here in a second, which sort of ended in the Book of Boba Fett in that scene where Grogu goes back to Din. That sort of ended The Mandalorian. We've transitioned season 3 into a different show. The show was really the restoration of Mandalore, and as Rob put a little bit earlier, they didn't even give that time to really run its legs. They kind of squished it together. So it feels disjointed because it changed story arcs and was compressed too short. Had it
You need
been
to have something more similar to House of Dragon season 1, where you start out with Bo-Katan as a young princess or whatever, and then it goes through the fall of everything, and then halfway through the season it jumps to modern Bo-Katan. Like some this way, because I know they go, Rob, it was on the cartoon. None of this matters to people watching the show. I gotta say, and again, I don't care what the cartoon says. If it ain't live action, they'll rewrite it, and even if it is live action, they'll rewrite it.
I think that's the disjointed thing that you feel. The movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is sort of like, let's skip over season 3 of The Mandalorian because that really was a different show. And we've got Din and Grogu kind of going back to being Din and Grogu doing what they're doing. In this case, I think we're going to tie into, we'll have to get more tea on this along the way. I think it's going to tie into the whole Thrawn returning back. There's another threat in the galaxy. These are things that Jason's kind of said before, where it's going to pick back up on Din is going to discover this threat, and then we'll tie into the Rangers storyline to some degree. But let's wait and see. We've got to get more of it.
More simpler theory.
Right.
I have a more simpler theory saying about why it feels disjointed, because it's not an actual TV series. It's an extended movie. It's this is a problem with every Disney Plus show, Marvel or Star Wars, right? I can't vouch for anything else between the Marvel and Star Wars, where it's like, if you count it up, it's like a 4.5 hour film, right? Trying to do the length of a TV series in terms of it, and it doesn't have enough time to do either. Had this been 13 episodes, right, a season, the way like Daredevil was back on Netflix 10 years ago, an hour long each, you could have made all these different threads tie together. Matter of fact, you could have taken the stories from Mandalorian season 1, season 2, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and even maybe even Obi-Wan, and put them all in one series. If you knew how to structure it right, you can. You really can. I'm just telling you, you really can. And I've watched enough. I watched from Boardwalk Empire through Game of Thrones through Black Mirror. You can. The problem, and honestly, you need just one TV series. I know, like, everyone wants like the I know I want this series is, they're not series. People don't go, man, I can't wait to tune into Arya Stark, the series, right? To continue the story of Game of Thrones. It would have failed.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
Did you remember Deep Space Nine? Did you watch Star Trek back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Look how complex that story is, where Nog goes from being this Ferengi, like ruffian, to being the first Ferengi into the Starfleet, to at the end, having one of the greatest arcs in the history of Star Trek. If you really look at it, only works because it was 7 seasons, and it had everyone had you had Dominion, you had religious stuff, you had all these things, and now they would split it all into like 15 different series.
So
it's a problem.
Let's get back to this story that is so confused, folks. Right, that started like 45 minutes ago, but we've kind of extended the topic. Mandalorian Grogu will be the last chapter of the series / show, with no future movies or seasons planned. However, Din and Grogu are going to show up in other series and other movies and other stories and other things. So the problem is that the story first reads as if this is the end of Din and Grogu. It's not the end of Din and Grogu. It's the end of the series, which sort of ended in the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, which sort of like there's a bunch of things that they need to kind of pull together. But then we're going to pick back up when we get to Filoni's movie in a couple of years, where we get the culmination of all these shows together and some battle with Thrawn or some issue with Thrawn or whatever however that's going to play out. But that's going to be after season 2 of Ahsoka. So this story to me is like, I don't know, throwing a flashbang into a room, right? It makes a big noise, doesn't really cause any damage, makes your ears ring for a little bit, but then it's over. What? The end of the show, so we're not getting season 4. I think that's the gist of it, right? There is no season 4 in this. Mandalorian Grogu is not like a trilogy of movies. It's a standalone movie, but that standalone movie is going to inform Ahsoka season 2 and perhaps a Bo-Katan show or series or movie, and perhaps this other movie and this other thing and 15 other things after that. Their story is not ending. So this story by Daniel RPK just is sort of a lot of noise with no real meat to it. So leave that for what it is. There's a couple other stories that I want to get to. Let's see. What is this over here? Oh, we'll get to that in a second. It's this one, right? So we'll do that. All right. Let me look at my topics again. Just oh, okay. Let's go to this other one. And I had this up because Meg covered it earlier this week. There was a story about the Kenobi movie leaks, and Star Wars Theory did a interview.
Oh no. With Stuart Beatty, right?
Yeah. Real quick, just to get caught up on the chat. I wonder if we eventually get some of the young original trilogy characters, like a CGI version of the original Big Three, or just a recast. That's a really good question, Real Ben. I don't have an answer. I have what I would personally like. I would personally like them to do an animated movie of post Return of the Jedi, including the Big Three with Chewie and the Big Four. But that's my own opinion and my own desire. Will they ever do it? I think Rob and I had talked about this before. Probably not. It's something that we want, but the mass appeal around the planet, outside of the old Star Wars fans that are now becoming decrepit and can't remember names and things, outside of us, probably not enough demand. So there's that. Even though this is probably way too simple, but I wish Mandalorian would do a weekly bounty hunting. Oh yeah, just go back to your old serial TV shows where there's a monster of the week, there's a villain of the week, there's a problem of the week, and we just rinse and repeat, different problem, different monster.
No. But see, that's not what I mean. You have that as your hook line and your loop, but then you have a greater story that it's getting to that you then use to build a new fan base for new characters and that when you're ready. And I've been saying this for 3 years. When that's complete, say 4 or 5 seasons, that's usually your best TV shows sort of peak around the 4th season, maybe the 5th. And then you complete. Hold on. But then you complete the big extravaganza up on the screen, and you give yourself 1, 2, maybe even 3 movies if it needs to do the big thing on the screen. Because the best part about Star Wars, the thing that Star Wars has that no other no other series can get away with, is it has that opening crawl. So when you have the opening crawl, you can say whatever happened previously in the Mando, you can just tell them they don't have to see the series, right? But then you've built up a fan base that wants to go to the theater to get the big visual spectacle, and
how many series and seasons have we had of CSI or NCIS or all these crime drama procedural?
Forget all that. Sam, I hear what you're saying. What I'm trying to tell these people that keep going, no, Rob, it would be too boring. I get bored of that. No, I don't think you understand. What you've been left with is every year you're getting like 2 weird movie-like experiences that don't have the budgets to look like a movie, don't have the construction to feel paced well like a film, that sort of drag out and you don't know where they're going. And you feel like you're having to spend however much money every month or every year on a subscription program for half-baked series. Like that's you need one. I know some things just haven't changed, Santa. They had the formulas. You're going to find out that it turns out advertisements is what's going to pay for TV series. Like they're just going to go back. Like they're doing it. But if you go back to my conversation with Jason 3 years ago, I was like, they're just going to go back. They're going to this move fast and break everything mentality that Facebook started. They're going to hit a peak, and then they're going to have to go back to the way it actually works, because those formats were invented long before we all were hanging out on stream. But even Santa, Lucy and them Perry Mason figured this out in the 50s. You know, Twilight Zone figured this out in the 50s. You know, like you can have an overall storyline, you know, but you need the hook and the characters to come back. And Star Wars shoots itself in the foot consistently, where it's like, oh, we had a big hit with the Mando, but our actor got too big and we don't want to pay royalties. So check it out. The lawyers tell, and you know it's clever lawyering, because two things. One, you know it's clever lawyering because recently those same Disney lawyers pulled that move of like, oh, if you're a Disney Plus subscriber, you can't sue a restaurant that was licensing our name, right? And you got sick app, blah, 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 blah. So, and then PR had to come in and go, no, we can't be doing that, man. You can't be. So somewhere at Disney Plus, the lawyers at Disney were like, look, if we don't actually have season 2 or 3, if we just call it something else, then we don't have to pay residuals or royalties or renegotiate for it. And that is what has been happening. They've only been doing this, Anna, for creative residual payments. And you know, and this is what, but it's killing their fan base. You can't latch on to anything.
To some degree, you're right. But Ben makes a point here. Like, you had the Arrowverse in DC on Warner Brothers, where on the WB, right, where you ended up with Arrow, you had Flash, you had Supergirl, you have all these other spin-offs. They all tie together. But even just within one of those, you have character arcs going on. You've got multi-season development of a story arc that works itself out as they're going through these things, right? The Flash and the Yellow Flash and all of that.
But
all that stuff's going on.
But two problems with the CW shows was, one, they went on too long, 4 or 5 seasons tops. And 2, they all turned into superhero team-up shows. Arrow, who was a solo character, now everyone's got superpowers. Flash, who's a solo character, now everyone's got superpowers. They all became OPs. They all became like, imagine if every series of Mando, everyone's becoming a Jedi. So by Book of Boba Fett, they all got sabers at the end of it. Then we started a new show where there's one, but by the end, they all got lightsabers. They're all Jedi now. Look, it's a problem.
They all get too greedy, and they overstay their welcome. I mean, that happens over and over. Kay made a good point. X-Files had a Monster of the Week, and they had a Mythos sprinkled in throughout. X-Files was really good too. So back to the story, though. We have the author of the movies. He said it was going to actually be a trilogy of Kenobi movies, and the gist of it is, first movie, Kenobi is lost his powers. He's disconnected from the Force and has no and can't figure out why. Through that, he reattaches. Second movie, essentially, Luke starts to show some powers. Kenobi's kind of pushing too hard, and he has a flash of dark side power come out, and Kenobi figures he's on the wrong path. Third movie, there's anyway. So there's this battle with Vader and Kenobi that happens again. Commander Cody comes back. They're burying bodies in the Sarlacc pit to hide, murders and things. Interesting. Why did they not do that?
He's also not admitting old Jar Jar, and I think people don't understand. Like, I actually had the style guides to that series. The year before that movie was planned on coming out, they actually put together style guides for merchandise. So I had old Jar Jar stuff. I've since deleted. But that was part of it too. That premise is so funny to me because one, like, that sounds like a guy who was told, yeah, plan stuff out. So only do so much in here. So we'll have seeds for something later. And then in his mind, he probably had plans for something, but there was never 3 movies greenlit. No budget. No, there was no plan for that. Ultimately, just hopes and dreams if it works out. And the big failure in that idea is it didn't tell a complete story. Like Star Wars, the initial Star Wars is a complete movie. You don't need to do any other after that. And this whole dragging things out, again, the TV shows kind of end too quickly and the movies drag things out. Like Santa, it's backwards. Like it's backwards, Santa. Well, what happened? What happened?
Well, I mean, we do have, oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. The Kenobi. Here's what happens. And it happens over and over and over again. You view something, the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the Kenobi show, whatever it is, right? You view it. Somewhere leaks an alternate script that happened along the way. It was either George's first, which we haven't seen, his first take for what he submitted to Disney to do for his sequel, right? His treatments for the sequels, or the Kenobi thing, or what was it? The other sequel trilogy that actually had a name. But all of those things, right? So you read those, or you see the story points of it. You're like, oh, that would have been so more better, cool.
If I describe to you dinner, it's going to look a lot better than the actual one I pull out. Trust me. So it's up in their heads. Right?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
So what they do is say, oh, we were robbed. We didn't get the good story. We got the crappy story.
What did I do? Why does my name use every time someone, like you can't use Jip because it's racist. I understand that. But my name, like, come on. No one says you got Santed, right? No one goes, you got Jason. You got robbed. Like, oh, man. Crawl,
I see what you did there. Yeah, no, but that's always the case. It's always going to be the case, because what you see is, especially if you think that it did not meet your expectations, there's always going to be something else in your head that would have been better. And when you see these outlines, you're like, oh, that would have been better. Anything would have been better. Definitely that would have been better. And
he's also disingenuous, Santa. Like Stuart Beattie is a guy. So I got the discussion with Jason at the time before Kenobi had come out about Stuart Beattie, because I'm a huge fan of the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, of which he came on to sort of do the final polish on the script. And he was like, because there was Elliot and Rossio who took over for the last two, but Stuart Beattie was the other guy who basically brought the quote unquote, he said, the supernatural aspect to the script. It was just a pirate movie before he brought the ghosts in. And so I was telling Jason, I'm a huge fan of the Monkey Island series on the LucasArts series with the Monkey Island series, which exactly has these undead pirates. And Pirates of the Caribbean is very Monkey Island. Like if you've ever played those games, it is so Monkey Island, where you're like, this is so weird. And Jason's like, no, you don't understand. The first Pirates movie was originally a Monkey Island script. They converted into Pirates of the Caribbean. And so Stuart Beattie was the one who sort of shepherded that. He's like, he just doesn't admit it. And I was like, seriously? He's like, oh yeah, 100%. So I'm telling you right now, this is creative marketing on Beattie's side. And the fact that he's on that guy's show says maybe Beattie has like an axe to grind on his own, Yeah.
Well, what creative who had an idea that didn't get used doesn't feel a little salty about their idea not being used?
I'm working on a comic series now, Spawn, because I had tons of ideas before there was a writer. I pitched all of them. When a writer comes on board, they're going to do what they do. I love the story. I have no problem. But I myself if I wanted to burn every bridge in the industry, I could go on and start a grievance cast, right? Where I'm like, look, man, here's all the things I would have done, and it could have been better. That doesn't mean anything. They're just ideas. So you can't go down this path because you have to go. But this is the project you are making, and it's our job as creatives to bring it to the finish line. You know
exactly. And here's the thing, and we've covered this over and over again. Just put the shoe on the other foot and play it out. Had George Lucas actually written, directed, and created his sequel trilogy, people would have been mad because they didn't like the things he did. That's been proven over and over again. I've 100% that would not have gone over well.
Where was the big line for the Clone Wars film, Santa? Go bring up how much that movie made in theaters. Where were all the Clone Wars fans? Where were all those people who with the kids had just seen it with the prequels when they were 5, 8 years old. So now they're 15, 16. They should have been right there. Where were they? Complaining about how corny that thing was.
Yeah. Well, the thing, you would have had a portion of the fandom very upset. Like, I'm done with George Lucas. This whole thing sucks. He doesn't understand Star Wars, and he's the creator. Right. You would have had other people saying he's too old. He's like lost touch. He needed more direction. He needed other people to step in and intervene. You would have had other people just taking all of it as if it were gospel gold. Fractured fandom, guaranteed, had we gotten it. And then somebody leaks out, oh, here's J.J. Abrams' story for the sequels. Oh, man, we were robbed. We should have gotten that. You know?
Again, Santa, you're so vindictive. I will say this, though, and I have never, I want to read the Michael Arndt. Michael Arndt was writing the script to Episode 7 when Lucas was actually putting that together, okay? And I want to read it so bad. I want to read, not because of the thing we could have got, but because I'm a huge fan of Michael Arndt, who wrote Little Miss Sunshine. I think he directed it too, but he did Little Miss Sunshine, and then he did Toy Story 3, which I just think is a brilliant piece of cinema. I don't care what anyone says. And he has a fantastic Vimeo series on storytelling, which he covers like using scenes from The Graduate. So if you want a really good masterclass in storytelling, go watch his Vimeo series. But there is that book Bloodlines, right? Yep. And in Bloodlines, the whole conceit is the galaxy finds out that Luke and Leia were the son and daughter of Darth Vader, and no one knew for 30 years until it finally came out, and it wrecks everything. Right. And I'm like, that seems to me to be what the movie should have been based off of. The only way you could rip apart the original trilogy is to have a sin, right? A sin. You get that, sin. You don't understand sin. Sin from the original trilogy. Something from there had to not be perfect to undo it. And and it's there. No one but Luke and Leia know. They didn't tell Han Solo, by the way, Vader's my dad. No one mentioned this to anybody. So what if they didn't tell anyone? And turns out Jason told me that came from the Michael Arndt script. That was originally that came from I don't know, maybe it was Bassman, but one of those dudes. It came from the Michael Arndt script, and JJ just chucked it out the door, you know? And and it's not that and let me tell you how this works, right, folks? He didn't read it and go, I can write better. I don't like any of these ideas. I'm JJ Abrams, boo, right? He didn't do that. How it works is when they come onto a project that they have to see to the end, they want to have ownership of the whole thing, because that's the only motivating factor. Like, so, and unless you're a gun for hire, but J.J. Abrams at this point is not a gun for hire. He's up here, right, in the spec. So he wants to have co-writing credit. He wants to see the whole thing through. So they all started from, no matter how good the ideas are, they're going to chuck all the stuff. Well, big mistake, probably, on that conceit, because
look, we can see it through the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, George Lucas. The stories evolve as they're working themselves out. And I'll guarantee you that the story treatments that George Lucas gave to Disney would not have been the movies that George Lucas would have ended up making. He may have made part of the first one according to the scripts, but then as the story developed, he would have come up with other ideas. He would have seen how people react. He would have changed things. He would have modified
He
it.
probably would have changed it the minute he got artwork back, because that's how Lucas tends to develop. He develops it. He's got the thing. He's got some version of a thing. It immediately gets handed to artists, and they visually start to develop the film. And then the final thing comes out of that visual development.
And then he runs into a corner. He's like, okay, I'm in a corner. How do I get out of the corner? Oh, from a certain point of view, that I'm in another corner. How do I get out of this corner? Your sister. Oh,
I know, but you run out of those cards. I figure you got so many. You get like 5, and he ran out of them. Like, he used 2 or 3 in Return of the Jedi alone. Yeah. Like first off, it's the Luke. Look, you go, I'm a prequel basher. I'm a Jedi basher, 100%, dude. Like, first off, Luke and Leia are not brother and sister. That's ridiculous. That's 1 card. 2, from a certain point of view, right? Now that one you can get away with, but you're testing folks, right? You're testing right. Because, and the only reason why you can get away with it is the reveal in Empire is so strong. Right. That the performance and the way that was constructed works so well that I'm like, all right, but the third one, and for me, this is the one no one ever talks about, and I'm going to harp till the day, it might be on my tombstone, is shelving Princess Leia into Han Solo's girlfriend. She should have been commanding the rebel fleet up in space. Not Admiral. You don't need new character. You don't need a Mothma. You don't need Akbar. No, she was running the rebellion. She's telling all the troops what to do on Hoth. You know what I mean? She's telling them literally what in the air hangar. She's in the command base. Like, you got to go. I'm not leaving on my troops. She is running things. She is the princess, the last surviving person of Alderaan, who was running, the rebellion. And she should have been up in space with the fleet. Han Solo should have been on the moon, right? Trying to shut the shield down. And Luke is on the Death Star doing his own Jedi thing. So they're all split apart, and then they get back together at the end. But that is it. The only reason that doesn't happen is because Lucas got a divorce and took it out on Carrie's character. Sorry, that's a fact. Like, even Carrie Fisher complained about it.
Whether it's the Kenobi movie trilogy that this guy is saying that he had written up, I'll guarantee you that's not the movies you would have gotten had he been retained all the way through.
He doesn't even mention old Jar Jar. He doesn't even mention old Jar Jar, which was literally a thing. And I can tell you why he probably doesn't is that might fall under some form of NDA or something. Like, this, it's very clever when you see what he words around. Like, the things he's talking about are things he never turned in. I'm telling you right now, there are things he whiteboarded for himself, plans for the future, but the specifics of what was turned in isn't really getting into there, other than the Cody thing, which was already broken. He may have been talked to about, Yeah.
So, otherwise, he would have been. He could not have said what he said because of the NDAs. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, so, and he does want to work.
But Ben, you're right here. Like, criticisms are fair. I'm not saying they're not fair. What I'm saying is this building a mentality of we were robbed again. Is a false narrative. Whichever way you're going, right? This or that. They're always going to seem, because what you can craft in your head from those outlines is always going to seem better when you hear it play out in your own head than what ends up on the screen. So it's always going to be that way. So,
which is why the final film is made in the editing bay at the end of the day, and guys, I'm drawing everything as it is. And even when I draw everything, I'm like, it takes a life of its own at some point. And you have to be careful. Is it going too far? Is it leaning too much over here? Am I not doing it? And then you're looking at the time, and there's only so much time. And these things, I'm sympathetic to production. And I think it's in some ways, I'm sad we know so much about production because it takes the magic away of movie making. And the minute the magic goes away, people don't appreciate it as much, I think.
So to go back to what Skywalker's Academy asked in the Patreon super chat, there's ways that these stories get spun that cause division, outrage, anger, and general unrest in the fandom because they come out all negativity. And the truth of it is not what is drawing clicks and attention. The truth of it is it would not have been that anyway. You can always come up with something in your head that seems better. Look, we've demonstrated it several times during this live stream, how in our head we could have worked things out better in the prequel trilogy, in the original trilogy. Like, it just makes more sense than what you saw on the screen. You could. Look,
I'm going to tell people right now, I give artists this advice, right? If you're an entry-level artist, you need to learn the fundamentals. And I say spend 4 years, no fan art, just do fundamentals. Tops, fine. Higher level artists, my advice is always this, and it's the hardest thing to learn when you get to a professional level, Santa. You have to become a decision maker. You have to learn to be a good decision maker. The thing you present to the world is really not based on your technique. It's not based on your ability to do things. It's based on the decisions you made. And J.J. Abrams has been found to be a poor decision maker, sometimes unwilling to make a decision, which is why he leaves things up in the air, right? Maybe raise a Kenobi or I don't know, let him figure it out. No, he doesn't want to commit to any one thing. This is why sometimes when I deal with artists who only do sketches and the like color loose sketches, the sketches are a problem. They're great for developing, but at the end of the day, you've never committed to a final line. I feel like maybe you could say it's a cop-out. It's like time. No. You have to commit to final lines. In a script, eventually, you're in the editing bay. You have to craft the film you're making, and you have to have a complete narrative. And, and you have to, and these things have to resolve on some meaningful way. And you can only cheat your way out so many times before people catch on. But decision-making, Santa, that's what we're talking about here. And, and the prequels or the sequels all lack really clear decision making. It's a lot of like, well, maybe fans like it, they don't,
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to say that there's a way to have the discussion where it's fun. You're like, wouldn't have been cool if they'd done this. Wouldn't have been cool if they'd done that. Oh, I hated that they did this. I hated that. And what I love about the discussion that Rob and I have had today is we did that. We did that without being like, Lucasfilm sucks. They're the worst. And it's not about Disney doesn't understand Star Wars and all of these narratives that you see out on the internet. We didn't do any of that. It's not necessary. You can have fun talking about, oh, wouldn't it have been great? And somebody says, oh, that would have been good, but how about this instead? And you can have a fun discussion about it, and you can go on for a long time. You can gripe and complain about all the things that you didn't like, but it never becomes an adversarial or becomes like toxic.
It's not personal, man.
No,
it's not personal, and it's not from a place of like a negative agenda. There's weird agendas out there, Santa, that I've never understood. Not just on the internet, but back in the day, it was at comic book shops. I go to comic book shop, and I'd be like, man, I really like Agent of Apocalypse, and I have to hear from like, this story sucks, and Marvel doesn't know what they're doing, but blah blah blah. I'm like, but it looks cool. Oh man, never mind. Can't talk to these people. Just walk in, get my comic, walk out. But yeah, making Star Wars is hard, and that's why I think like toward the end of, we'll eventually get back to doing the podcast whenever Jason's busy, guys.
I know. Yeah.
But we come to the realization that it's very difficult to do. And you can have all the talent in the world and almost no talent and end up with the same result. So the where I get critical of Lucasfilm as a studio is they have already gone through enough films, enough TV shows to learn from their past mistakes, to go, okay, what did and did not work, right? And are they self-critiquing? My critique of Lucas comes from when he doesn't self-critique. He just goes, "Oh, I'm Lucas. But they'll just deal with it. No. They were mean to me. No one can really be mean to a billionaire, George. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear. Right. So are they learning? I don't think so.
I think they are, but it maybe not. mean, they are learning, but they haven't yet learned. Does that make sense? Like they're getting there. The frustration
I don't
is
think
that they haven't.
they're self-critiquing very well, because I don't see Filoni like improving on things that, he just keeps interjecting. This is the way George would do it. This is the way George would do it. I'm like, man, which George? That you're assuming George is a monolith, because 1975 George, THX 1138 George ain't American Graffiti George, ain't Radioland Murders George. You know what I mean? So I don't know what that means. And Favreau has gotten worse in the writing department since you look at what he was doing on the first Mando series and you see what he's turning in Mando season 3. It feels like that Nickelodeon Filoni stuff got involved somewhere along the lines, because he was a very simple. What I love about Favreau is he made a movie called Zathura, right? From the same guy who created Jumanji.
Yeah,
I like Zathura. Yeah. See, people are hit or miss on Zathura. it's the closest to that darker Henson 80s vibe we got, right? Right? Yeah. And if you're saying, I think you're like a Muppet movie guy, right? You're not like a Dark Crystal guy, right? So now and then I'm in the mood for some Dark Crystal, my friend. And Zathura for me is like, that's some Dark Crystal. But it's he tells simple stories. Elf, Chef, Zathura, those are simple films. That's what Iron Man's a simple film. Right? When we get into this weird lore and complex timelines, and that's not Favreau. No. You know what I mean? That's not him at all.
Yeah. Ben made another really good salient point, right? Like, you take the stuff that you like, right? And he says people take stuff way too seriously. He said he likes the OG Zahn trilogy, right? The Heir to the Empire trilogy. I don't care if it's canon or not. It's Star Wars to me. Yeah. Take the stuff you like, let the other stuff go, and just enjoy it for what it is. And don't try to make it into something else. Another story here to kind of wrap things up. Update on the new Jedi Order movie project. Daisy Ridley did an interview. And the interview says, a few days ago, Daisy Ridley left the Deauville Festival with a New Hollywood Award. It was an opportunity to spend a few minutes and ask. They get pronouns and stuff wrong in this whole thing. It says it was spend a few minutes by his side and ask him for news of the stars, her and her, whatever. On May 20th, 2026. Star Wars will return to the cinema with Star Wars New Jedi Order. Well, I don't know how true that is, but okay, put a pin in it. We do expect to get the Mando-Grogu movie before that, but May 20th, 2026. Okay, cool. I don't know how reliable that is, but let's just
Wizard Magazine write this. This is right up there with Wizard Magazine's movie call section.
True. That's it.
Chris Columbus' Fantastic Four will launch in theaters July 26, 1993. No, it really won't, man. Like, chill out on that Chris Columbus Fantastic Four. I'm still hearing about it.
Yeah. So it goes on to say it's directed by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. Daisy will reprise the role of, which I say put a pin in that too. I am not certain that she will take the movie to across the finish line, but we'll find out. We'll see.
It's got nothing to do with her. She was paid $12 million either way. So
she's a director, right? She's not a writer.
Oh,
she's a
I'm talking about Daisy.
Yeah. Oh, Daisy will reprise the role of Rey, which she did in 79. Blah blah blah. So the first question: your return to Star Wars would be very different from your arrival. At the time of the release of Episode 7, The Force Awakens, the franchise had been dormant in the cinema for decades.
No, there was a Clone Wars movie in 2008. 11, around there.
While New Jedi Order will land in a world where Star Wars is absolutely everywhere, which is true, right? We have it on Disney Plus and all this. My reflection on the subject is very simple. If I did not think the story was worth telling, I would not have returned. That's the pull quote that's making it everywhere. Daisy Ridley, right? If I did not think the story was worth telling, I would not have returned. And
yeah, because it gives me a heart. That's why it's worth telling. Like
they reply back, but you did have the choice to refuse. And she said, yes, of course. They follow up. Is there no contract that would force you to come back? She says, no. I was asked if I wanted to, based on an idea, without the script being written yet. But if I had not been convinced by the concept, the film would not have been created. She said, I took the time to think for a day, and I thought I had a great time on those films. This new adventure seems fun. Why say no? This is what you're more focused on. She thought for it a day. Does the idea suck? No. Will I get paid? Yes. Well, okay. Let's do it.
Here was the idea. We were going to get Helen Mirren to play a 60-year-old you, but now we want you. Okay. No, that was what was happening. That's not, you cannot believe it or not. That's what was happening.
Yeah,
like they spent 2 years with the writer's room. They had completed scripts. No, it is true. And the only thing that changed was Bob Iger came back and someone said, hey, why are we making these characters that we got at our theme park 60 years old when we have actresses running around? We got little girls hanging out with regular Rey. What are you doing? Like, and look, it's a fair critique to make. No, it did get that far. Like that's if you line it up, that's exactly the shift back to. This is why, Santa. This is why the Marvel side of things. You got look. Is every studio its own thing? Sure, but there's still an overall vision, and when the overall game plan at the top shifts, you see it. That's why Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars change when Disney Plus and JPEG come on board. And then when Iger comes back, it shifts again. And now you got Marvel trailers that all look like Winter Soldier. All right. Like there's a reason for this. And this is what happened is they said, we aren't ready to shelve our young actress with the fan base we already have for this other take. It doesn't. So that's really what she's talking about. The pitch was, you will be the lead. It won't be this other thing where you really want to come back. She can't tell you it was a story. First she says it was a story, then she says it's a concept. Now, this is where my childhood of doing logic problems comes into like my benefit. Then when I never read a script, there is no script. There is no story. There's the pitch. What's the pitch? You're the one in charge. You will be the lead. It won't be an ensemble.
Well, that's why I go back to say, I don't think there was ever a script where they had old Rey in it. I don't believe
there was. No. I know you don't have to. Santa, I'm not talking beliefs. This actually happened. They spent 2+ years working on this. Lindelof and them had everything put together, and it was are we going to go? Here's how this works. You have a go movie or you don't have a go movie, period. That's how it works. Now sometimes you got a go movie with no script, but how Lucasfilm has been doing things and how it worked on this project, as I understand it, is they were waiting on a certain script to come through, and the person to make a decision on the go thing was Kathy, because there's no director attached. It was being studio driven. Okay. Now, once you get a director attached, you got one of two kinds of directors. A director that's playing ball with the studio, like a typical Marvel director that's kind of doing what the studio wants, and no, they're going to craft it. Or B, a director who's going to take authorship, right? An auteurship or whatever. And so when they decided they had this, somebody at the top level, and I'm certain it was Iger or Bergman or whoever, someone at a top level had a power lunch meeting with Kathy and said, here's how Holly works. We have this young 20-year-old. We could get another 20 years out of this actress. What are you doing? And forget the quality of this script, good or bad. This doesn't make any sense marketing wise. We're going to put a 60-year-old Rey and some new kids up. You're going to feel like you're rewriting or rebooting the whole thing. Why don't we just continue this? Take these same ideas and just make her young. Oh, well, okay. And then I don't know how R.B. Shinoe, I don't know how she comes in the picture, but then they attach a director to it, right? And when the director comes on board, maybe, you know what? I think the way the timeline with Jason would be better at this. Maybe they brought in the director and she pitched it. I don't understand this one thing. And then it starts a chain reaction, because I told Jason when this news came out that our Lindelof went away and the new director was in, I'm like, this is a Ridley Scott move. When a director comes on board, they're making, this isn't my script. This isn't what I want to do. Here's what I would like to do. And if they're going to go on board with it, they're going to go with the director. The director will always win over a writer on a movie. That is how hierarchy in Hollywood works. So that is it. But they were going to go that other path, Santa. Like, good or bad idea, that is what they were going to do.
I don't think that was ever approved. I think that was pitched and they said no. But
no, it wasn't pitched. It was written. They just decided, you're right. They didn't make, obviously it wasn't approved. They didn't make the movie, but that was the path they were headed on. They had actual scripts.
Daisy goes on to say, moreover, a strange coincidence occurred. 2 people told me in the same week that they would love to know what Rey was doing now. She says, I had no idea it was interesting. People really like Rey. I think this new movie will be exciting and will advance the franchise in an interesting way. Just for clarification,
I'm getting
Matt
photos.
Said he translated this from French to English, and that's why some of the pronouns and stuff didn't translate correctly.
I'm not knocking that. I'm just, it's funny. So 2 people told me, well, I was doing photo signatures for Peter Rabbit. Look, I'm going to be honest. She hasn't had much of a career since this happened. And I've wondered about that because I like her. I think her acting is extremely strong in the sequel movies, regardless of what I think about the end result. But I have asked myself this question, and I've never got an answer from anyone. It's directors like to work with previous crew. Some level, somehow they keep working their favorites, and that's why James Gunn has his brother working. It's not because he's brother; he keeps working with the same people over and over again. How is it she never ended up in a Knives Out film? Oh, you know what I'm saying?
That is
like,
interesting.
This makes no, like you'd think she'd be right for that. Why? What was with her and Ryan Johnson? He gave her a great arc in that film. Did her, but there's something here. She didn't translate for whatever reason, and now she's been in this limbo with her career.
She's had major studio projects, so it's not like she disappeared. What happened to Carrie Fisher after Star Wars? What happened to a lot of these?
Carrie Fisher had substance abuse problems. That's a bit different. Go read Postcards from the Edge.
There's a lot of folks
very different situation with Carrie. In this situation, in 5 years, what is the major film she's done since Rise of Skywalker? The answer is nothing. She voiced Peter Rabbit in a film, and she appeared as a cameo in something else. She's had nothing.
No.
And this is odd.
She was the main in that lady that swam across the ocean, the English Channel.
That's rather new. That's rather new, and that's an independent A24 level film. That is not
good movie. And then she was also in the Orient Express movie.
Right. That's why I was saying, but weird you end up in, but that's a B part. That's not a lead character. The Orient Express is a Poirot movie. That's a Kenneth Branagh film. So at the end of that's like saying Gal Gadot was in that movie. Yeah, Gal Gadot was in that other one, and who cares? So at the end of the day, maybe she didn't want the spotlight, but she has complained about her finances on some level because she was talking about how her and her husband are making these indie things, but you could hear I'm not getting paid problem in that interview.
I don't know. They go on and ask her another question.
Santa has judged.
Says you yourself have never wondered what Rey was becoming, what could have happened to her after the Rise of Skywalker? And she said, I didn't care until I was asked. I had the feeling that the story had ended very nicely. So Rey's return had to be worth it. And I think it is. I'm also in a very different position. I was 21 when I did the first one. I'm 32 today, and therefore much more experienced on film sets. It's very exciting to imagine how my current life will affect the character. Cool. They ask another question.
I love the honesty. Why would I? That I appreciate. That is a real answer. I never thought about it. Well, I'm not a writer. I'm an actor. No, that's fair. Actors don't think that way. They get roles and they deal with what they're being handed. They don't fan script their own ideas. That's just not how it works.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Go back and watch how many Harrison Ford interviews about Han Solo and where where he was going afterwards, right? He'll tell him to go F off and get away from me, right? He doesn't care.
Rob, you worked on Crash 4 and now Crash 5, it's come out, but Rob, they're working on the new. Have you ever thought of it? No, I've been busy working. When it's time to think about Crash, I'll work on that idea then, but I'm not spending all my time fan scripting something I'm not going to be able to see to fruition, because that sort of thing builds negativity in their head too. You're going to be dreaming about a bunch of things, and then when you get it, they're not going to want to do the thing that was in your head anyway. That's a good way to link up that conversation we had earlier, Santa. Actors and professionals don't do it for a reason, because that builds disappointment in the project that comes to reality as well.
Yeah, we've got a couple of folks here in our audience that keep saying that same thing over and over again. Like, let them tell you the story. Quit trying to push your story into the story that's being told, right? It works out better that way. Do you think it'll be easier than at that time to assume the attention that such a role can generate? Again, this is kind of awkward translation, but do you think it'll be easier, right? She said, what was overwhelming for me was that on the day of the premiere for Force Awakens, people didn't think Rey would be an important character. I remember my mother telling me they must have thought you were good because they spent a lot of money on this movie. A lot. Well, I don't know how much it had to do with Daisy or that it had Star Wars on the marquee. But anyway, she said it's very strange to be taking photos on the red carpet, watching the movie, and just go to the bathroom and people say, oh my God, it's you. Suddenly I was recognized in public life outside of my work. It's not necessarily easy to digest. And then I had never traveled. She was young, 21 years old, right? Breaking into the film industry. Poor actress, now flush with money and in front of everybody, right? There I find myself all over the world, and I had unusual interactions with people. For example, I did not know what a press junket was. I was discovering everything. And then time passes and things calm down. I have a perspective on all of this now and how it goes. So it will be easier to manage. Right. Said the last question in the interview, the way some fans welcomed Rey was very violent. Again, I think that's a translation thing. I don't think that they mean violent. They mean was negative, right? Did you feel it? She says, no. I know some people have expressed themselves negatively, but I don't pay attention to it because it doesn't really concern me, right? It doesn't. The character, how they respond to the character in the script, that doesn't concern her. Did she do her job well? And did she portray?
Her job is to give a performance. The storytelling is up to the ultimately the director.
Yeah.
And the screenwriter. I mean, but ultimately the director. That's a J.J. Abrams problem, not a her problem. How they receive her character, it's her acting and her performance. How do I tell you? How do people perceive the character of Mace Windu? That is up to George Lucas to give you the perception of Mace Windu. How Sam Jackson acts as Mace Windu is up to Sam Jackson. You know, that's it. Two different things.
Yeah. And she says, I can't change the way some men see women. But unfortunately, that's how society works. And then overall, I was very well received. I chose to focus on the positive. And I would say from a mental health perspective, that is very, very good, especially when you're involved in a franchise the size of Star Wars and a fandom as diverse and fractured as this fandom is. Very good interview. Daisy, Ben says, Daisy's been really good at talking in the media. And give her credit that she always dances around a lot of the negative stuff, right? She gets it. She really does. People should take notes. So I'm hoping that we do see the Rey movie. And I have been pressed for some tea. I go back to the very beginning when Skywalker's Academy wanted me to spill some tea. I've been pressed on some tea regarding the Rey movie, and I'll say it's not fully brewed yet, Dale. Let's let it simmer a little more. Let that tea bag seep into the water and fully mature before we consume the tea just yet. Story's not ready. Again, back to what I said at the very beginning as well.
I don't know anything about I don't know anything about Santa. Right? I'm going to go ahead.
I'm not a scooper. I'm not in the
Right.
scooping business. That's
true.
That's for the professionals, and I leave it to them. I'm going to. Yeah, KG says Teapot's not whistling yet. Exactly. That's for the professionals. I leave that to Jason Ward, making StarWars.net, and to Bespin Bulletin. When they indicate that the tea is ready, we will then partake.
Snyder's been very accurate with his Star Wars info. But Jason, Bespin, and Snyder are the three that I tend to go to these days for accuracy, not because I'm friends with 2 out of 3 of them. Although I met Jeff once. Weird guy. So as a fan and someone who's gone through this a few times now, I don't know, man. Like I think I told Jay, so I hit in the high 80s with my accuracy, like because I'm a pragmatist, and I've spent my entire life learning as much as I can how things get made. I'm less interested in the fandom around the success or the lore, the characters. I'm less interested in that. I'm up for a story, but I'm not pondering what Thrawn eats for lunch and how that could affect chapter 2 on a book. Like, that's irrelevant. What happened in chapter 2? You know what I mean? Like, fans do that. It wouldn't make any sense because why would Gotham City? Why would anyone live in a city? Like, I hear this all the time. Why would anyone live in Gotham City if it's such a mess hole? What would be the economic benefit to guys? That's not the point. It's a freaking fairy tale. It's an interest. You need a cesspool to guys. Come on. So, as a fan, I would say this: they need to pick a lane with their films. They need to do the Rey thing to its completion, and then start a new thing, or the Boba or the Mando or whatever. We got a Lando movie and a Rey movie and a Mando movie and a Rangers movie and then a Filoni Mando movie. All that stuff will backfire, and then we're going to be right back where we started. Like, it's not going to work. It has shifted since 2019. It has shifted since 2018. And right now, you kind of maybe blame Marvel for doing this on some level with the Disney Plus shows. There's too many random things to follow. People want to know where the Star Wars is to watch. They want to know what the Marvel thing to watch is. And following 7 different timelines in every movie is going to backfire in their face over the next 5 to 7 years.
A good point that I've seen start to get a little bit of traction where people are saying, somebody show me the direction. Where are we going? And that is a good question because we don't have a clear cut. Is this are we on a Mando verse track? Is that where we are? Or are we on a Mando verse and of this, and of that, and of this other thing? Right? That's what you're just now saying. Like,
they're doing that to cover. We got to have the young people, so we're making new fans, and then we got to get the old one to get all that. I've seen this in T-shirts, right? And this is not how you win long term. This is how you chase wins, and ultimately will always backfire. If you make something amazing, everyone will go see it. It doesn't matter, young, old. When I was watching like Avengers, there were 50-year-old women in there. You know what I mean? 70-year-old women. There were kids in there. Everyone was in there. In Star Wars Santa in the 70s, I'm going to, judging by the way my uncles, I've seen the pictures, a lot of different age groups in them lines, So if you just make something amazing, they will come, But if you try to pick your audience per project, if you're like, this project is for this audience and this project for that audience, you will fail every time. You cannot pick your audience. You can have an idea who maybe it's for to an extent, but you can't choose your audience. And trying to choose your audience has been a big problem with Star Wars, where they're like, no, this acolyte is for these people. Well, then now you just told me it's not for me. And that's not the case. I didn't know I was going to like Downton Abbey. All right. I'm not a Jane Austen fan. You know what I mean? But they got me. And so that's you can't pitch it like, you have to say, here's an amazing story set in a time period dealing with this, and this is the struggles they're going through. You know what I mean? And here's what it looks like. Does it catch my interest?
Rob, I appreciate you bringing up Downton Abbey. sad day today for many of us. We did. Maggie Smith has passed. Star of Downton Abbey, star of Harry Potter series, and just a fabulous actress. We've seen her, and my wife and I have seen her in all kinds of different projects, and she was and has been an absolute gem of an actress. She'll be missed.
You know where she caught my eye, Santa, as a kid? Murdered by Death.
Oh,
wearing that skimpy dress. Dickie.
Look, she had a spectacular career, and just from all perspectives, just a fantastic lady. So she'll be missed. So worth at least mentioning that. I know where it's a Star Wars stream, and she's not been in Star Wars, but I'm glad you brought it up. I was looking for the excuse, and thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Spreezy,
you got robbed.
Look who made it. Look who made it to the chat. Spreezy, it's so good to see you, my friend. We've missed you. It's great to see you. It's been too long since I've seen you and Rob. Thanks for dropping in, Spreezy. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, good to see you.
all the way from Australia. Look,
such a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking guy.
It's a real shame, isn't it? Someone get all the hair and the looks,
in the accent,
Yeah,
look,
and the endorsements.
Yeah, he's definitely a triple threat. The guy is great. Good to see him. We have a Mike Porter dad joke, and let's see. Let me pull it up here. Mike Porter dad joke. Why did General Dameron feel wealthy? Well, because he was never Poe on Friends.
Wah, wah, wah. That's look, there's a poor Poe pun there to be had, right? I think we need to workshop that one. I think we go to open mic, try a few options. I appreciate the effort.
Absolutely love Mike. Appreciate.
Come back next week with the same concept. As we've learned today, concepts don't make a story. And that's one where the idea was better than the reality.
Look, I love it. Dad jokes are dad jokes for a reason, and Mike Porter, that one qualifies. It qualifies as a dad joke. Absolutely. Rob, once again, thanks for being here. You've made the conversation more dynamic. I appreciate it. Really good points today. And even when I disagree with you, and just like let it go, just let him have his opinion. It's fine.
It's not my opinion. They really had an old Rey script. It's like I know it's not an opinion. It's fact. So when one day the script will leak, and then we get to have that show, and you just get to turn even more red. Okay. Right? Deal. Ripping down stockings, breaking the canes,
Deal. We can do that. All right. You guys, thanks for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have a great day. Wonderful weekend. And
my heart goes out to the hurricane victims. Seriously, man. You know what I mean? Everyone's
no kidding. I'm glad. Again, really good point. The storm that came in to Florida, super devastating storm. The amount of damage and loss, and I'm certain there'll be.
It's not as bad as we all felt with Rise of Skywalker, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty what? What? I know. I took all the goodwill away, right?
You went too far. You went too far.
Let's go play Santa Show, Santa.
All right. You guys take care. Rob, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the force be with you always. Bye-bye.